We are continuing our series through the book of Ecclesiastes. I think this is part 4, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm excited about jumping into this one. First, a story, an embarrassing tale about yours truly. I was a youngin' way back in the day. I was, 5 years old, 6 years old maybe, and I don't have firsthand account of this story. And you'll find out why, but my parents have told me about it. And so if you want to fact check any part of the story, they're both here. You can go talk to Rick or Sharon after church today. But it has been told that I was asleep one night, and it was early in the evening, and my parents were watching TV. And we weren't home. We were staying somewhere else. So it was unfamiliar territory for me. And so they said in the middle of the night, I'd stirred awake and I'd walked out to the living room where they were watching the Tonight Show, I think. And they're asking me, Chris, what you doing, buddy? And I walked straight up to the TV, to the television set. And I, in a shocking turn of events, began to tinkle on the TV. Tinkled right on Johnny Carson and the Tonight Show. You're like, that's an odd story to tell in church. And then I know it is. And so I finished my business, did the little shiver. Why are you talking about the shiver in church, Chris? The shiver. And went back to bed. Never woke up. I left my parents to deal with the mess. And they told me about it. They're like, you know what you did last night? Over cereal, over breakfast. You know what you did last night? I'm like, no. Why does it smell like ammonia in here? He was eating asparagus. Anyway, so, Chris, what are you doing? Oh, okay. So why am I telling this ridiculous story? I'm going to tell you why. I was sleepwalking, right? And the truth is, as we all sleepwalk through life, sometimes the target that we're aiming for is a little off, and we don't realize it. This guy's good. Don't ask me how that came to mind this week. Just don't even ask. Just pray for me. That's what you need to do. Sometimes the target of our lives shift unbeknownst to us. We don't realize we might set out in life with this great intention and this amazing aim and this wonderful directive, and we're like, this is my passion, this is my fervency. We meet Jesus, we're all about him. Say, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. And we're just like, this is the life. And then life gets going, and we hit cruise control. And we end up sort of sleepwalking through this thing. Life is very daily. There's a lot of dailies. There's a lot of mundane activities that happen, and you underestimate that. You got passions, you got dreams, and you think it's all going to be just fluffy clouds and unicorns. You're like, then you get going, and it's very daily. And after a while, you stop thinking, you stop getting very specific about what you're doing and where you're aiming, and you just kind of let the thing drift. And before you know it, you're like, what am I doing this for? Am I just living for the paycheck? Am I just living for, what am I doing this for? That is the conversation that the author of this book is having with us. And especially the first couple chapters, Solomon is giving credit for this work, and he is talking about really experiencing life without God. This is life vacant of connection with anything spiritual, without God himself. This is life void of God. What does that look like? And he's saying all these things that you're aiming for, all these things that you're targeting, all these things that you're pursuing, this is what it ends up being like. And in fact, the name he gives himself, it translates to the preacher or the teacher, which is what the author is referred to throughout this book. But it translates to kohelet, which is a word that actually means collector. And he is a collector of dreams, of ambitions, of aspirations, of things that you're meant to live for, wealth and knowledge, and all the things that we make the target of our lives. He is a collector of all those things. Been there, done that. He's done it all. And he's saying, if you make that the thing, the focus, the aim, the directive, it comes up empty every single time. And so the conversation that he's had so far, he's talked about wisdom, and which is very personal for him. It's something that he is known for, is his wisdom. He's the author of Proverbs and known for his incredible wisdom. And he's saying that was vain, vanity, that was empty, that was like chasing the wind, just living for that human knowledge, human wisdom. He talks about pleasure, wealth, entertainment, relationships, and more. I mean, he talked about a lot of things we covered last week briefly, but he covers a lot of territory to basically name it and say, this is not the exception. This is also empty and vacant and void of life and meaning if you make it the main thing. In the verses we're going to look at today, he brings up one that is, I think, a great conversation for us to have. He talks about the vanity of work. And some people might say, yes, that's exactly how I describe work. It is total, it's vain, it's ridiculous, it's empty. But he talks about it specifically, and I'm excited about diving into this. So we're going to be Ecclesiastes chapter 2. We're finishing out that chapter today. These are verses 17 through 25. This is what he says. The work which had been done under the sun brought sorrow to me, because everything is for nothing and is like trying to catch the wind. I hated what came from all my work, which I had done under the sun, for I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows if he will be a wise man or a fool. Yet he will rule over all that I have worked for by acting with wisdom under the sun. This also is for nothing, so is filled with sorrow. For I had worked for what I had worked for under the sun. For here is a man who has worked with wisdom, with much learning, an able hand. Yet he must give this to one who has not worked for it. This also is for nothing and very wrong. For what does a man get from all his work and trouble under the sun? For his work brings pain and sorrow all his days. Even during the night, his mind does not rest. This also is for nothing. There's nothing better for a man than to eat and drink, find joy in his work. I've seen that this also is from the hand of God. Who can eat and who can find joy without him? Capital H, without God. Our association with what we do runs way deeper than we think it does. You are really intrinsically linked to what you do. And I am talking about your job, I am talking about your career, but really even beyond that, just what you do, what you spend your time doing, where you put your effort, where you put your skills and your gifts and your abilities, what you sink yourself into is really how we define ourselves. It's generally how we try to find purpose and meaning in our life. It's probably the first question we ask when we meet somebody in order to get to know them. So what do you do? It's how we generalize people. It's how we categorize people. The way that we interact with people and treat people, and whether we realize it or not subconsciously, has something to do with what they do and what service they fulfill in our lives, what they do for us. They are what we do, what other people do, is kind of the easiest way that we have to define that person, to define ourselves, to know who we are. We derive our identity from what we do. In large part, a sense of purpose in who we are, instead of finding that in Christ and letting that be a reality in us inside out, we take the shorter route and we define ourselves by what we do and kind of go through the route of outside in as far as identity. It's just human nature. And if that's the case, if we're finding our identity, our meaning, our confidence, our purpose in what we do, then that definition and that quality is always going to be in a perpetual state of flux. It is always going to be it's going to be a variable at all times, because what that means is what you do is insecure, or what you do and how you feel about what you do is always going to be a little insecure, because it's based on whether or not you are currently doing well at what you're doing right now. But if that's not going well, then you're going to be subject to the insecurity of that relationship, that dynamic. What about those of us who are in between jobs, lost our job? Now we're having a bit of an identity crisis. Now there's a lot of insecurity in that place. It feels shaky. It feels chaotic. It's a hit to your own personal identity. What about folks who have retired? It may sound great on paper, and you're like, I can't wait to not work anymore and life after my career. But then you're like, okay, but who am I? If I don't do that, who am I? I think we underestimate how deeply that is rooted in us, and how intrinsically we're tied to what we do as far as finding our identity and our purpose in this world. When we experience setbacks, when we experience a rough patch at work, it can be very difficult for us to navigate that in terms of our confidence, our security, our identity. There is an attachment not only for with how we feel about ourselves, our identity, but really we've attached job, career, performance, and what we do. We've attached that and intertwined that with how we feel love and acceptance and approval. How we feel about a person and how we feel accepted and loved and valued is in large part based on what we do. So our connection with other people is based on what we do for them. And really, this runs so deep, it's how we interact with God. We view our connection with God and our relationship with God and where we stand with God based on what we do for Him. We feel like if we're doing a lot for Him, then we're good. But if we haven't done a lot for Him, or we're not doing exactly what we feel like God's asked us to do, now we're on the outs. This runs way deeper than we think it does. I would say that most people exhaust themselves working tirelessly, trying to find their place in this world, their value, their meaning, trying to find fulfillment, some sort of internal fulfillment that might be a bit of an intangible, but we're trying our best to make our lives count, to make our lives matter, to feel like we can put our head on the pillow at night and feel good about what we're doing in this world. I worked in a very works-oriented, performance-obsessed setting for a long period of time. And it was all about performance, all of it. And eventually what happened was I started off with confidence. I can impress people. I can do this better than anybody else. I'm a charismatic individual. I will make a big splash here. But then over a period of time, you realize it's never enough. It's never, ever, ever enough. In fact, I would say it this way: you're only as good as your last mistake. No one remembers the 150 things you did right. They remember the latest thing that you did wrong. That is the only thing that anyone remembers. It's like, I've been consistent for years and years and years, and I messed up this one time, and that seems to be the thing that people bring up the most. It's frustrating. It's exhausting. Maybe that's why Solomon says this of his work. He says, the work which had been done under the sun brought sorrow to me, because everything is for nothing. It's like trying to catch the wind. I hated what came from all my work, which I had done under the sun. He's saying it's pointless. I resent it. My wife and I are spending one night a week. It cools down a little bit, and we're going outside because the weeds have just taken it. Our property looks like Jumanji right now. It's just absolutely insane. It looks like there might be cheetahs stalking us in our backyard. It's so bad. So we take a night a week, and we just kind of go out and we try to tackle a section of our yard and try to make it pretty. And but then give it a few days, and the weeds, they keep coming. They're not going to stop, and everything keeps moving. And so you feel like you've done some work, you've made a dent, you've done something great. Give it a little bit of time, and that kind of is undone. None of your work is permanent. It's kind of like, if you think about it, chasing your tail a little bit. It could be exhausting, and you can kind of stop and say, what's the point of this? I'm exhausting myself at this job, and eventually I'm not going to be at this job anymore. And he even talks about it. Some other doofus is going to take my spot and is going to be absolutely the worst. And all the work that I did, they're going to undo and they're going to make it worse. That's what he's talking about. He's like, why are we doing this? Why keep going? He goes on to say this, even during the night, my mind does not rest. It's like I can't clock out. I could not relate to this statement more. My brain doesn't have the ability to clock out. A lot of us have had a complicated relationship with work. We've had ups and downs with it. And we've tried to find our spot, our category, our lane. So being as though he's talking about how complicated it is, how much it is draining, how difficult it is work bad? Is work a bad thing? Are we talking about something that is inherently bad? I've heard preachers, many preachers actually, make this statement. Guys, the reason we hate work is because it's part of the fall of man. Work is part of the fall, which is just completely, categorically false. God gave a job in the Garden of Eden to Adam and Eve prior to the fall. He gave them work to do. Work is not part of the fall. Work is a beautiful, good thing. In fact, it's hardwired in us. We're meant to do. We're meant to work. We're supposed to. Work actually preceded the fall. Work isn't the problem. The problem is found, and the problem arises when we place work in a position that only Christ can fill. When work becomes the source as opposed to our source, who is Jesus. When work becomes the thing that we look to define us, to fulfill us, to give our life meaning and purpose, as opposed to the one who created us. When we have Jesus in the proper place, work becomes a beautiful thing. Work becomes a big positive. In fact, if anyone asks me my parenting advice, which rarely does anyone do. But they asked Sonia. But this is my best parenting advice for all parents. This is free of charge. And this came by way of having the two greatest parents that any kids ever had on this planet. My parents are absolutely brilliant. And this has come in partnering with my wife to raise the greatest child who's ever walked this planet, my daughter Berkeley. These two things, I would say, if you keep them a priority, you're going to raise a great person. A great human being is going to be raised in your family. I would say the two most beneficial, consistent things to prioritize are, number one, church attendance. Keeping your children in church creates a priority that will serve them for their entire lives. If they get the sense that church is a back burner, if you got time kind of thing, that is not going to serve them well. It shows them through activity and through proof that this is, as much as going to school, as much as going to the dentist, as much as going to the doctor is an important part of your life. This is eternity, how much more so this? Hell or high water, my parents kept me in church. And it serves me to this day. It established a concrete priority that has served me my entire life. It has always shown me this world isn't the big picture. This politics and culture and nonsense, that's not the big picture. Christ is. It showed me that. Didn't tell me, it showed me. And number two, help your child establish a great work ethic. To work hard. That will serve them their entire life. I've seen generations come up, probably starting with mine, that were allergic to work. To do anything is like the worst thing ever. To do nothing is the dream. To do our best to raise children that think differently. To fall in love with effort or giving it your best. If we hold those two priorities up in our family with our children, you're going to raise a great person. They're going to be a great person in this world. So I don't have a problem with work. I just think that our relationship with it is complicated. And we could do a whole series on the subject of work, and maybe one day we will, but I want to spend time as we kind of wrap up today with this statement that Solomon makes, and I want to spend some time with this. There is nothing better for a man than to eat and to drink and to find joy in his work. Find joy in what we're doing, whatever that is, to find joy in it. We're not called or designed to find our identity in work. We're not called or designed to find our meaning and purpose in our work. We're called to find joy in our work. Joy is an expression within our work. Our work is not our source. Our work is a place where we demonstrate and unleash what we've received from our source. Solomon unlocks the secret to this joy in the very next sentence. He tells us how this is possible. I've seen this is also from the hand of God, who can eat and find joy without him. So here's the equation. If you're keeping score at home, we're meant to find joy in what we do. How? We're meant to find joy in what we do as we're connected to the source of our joy. Who can find joy without him? That's where the joy is from. So the joy is not being directed from our job towards God. Our joy is being directed from God towards our job. It's not the job that's the source of our joy. We find joy in doing what we're doing because of what God's doing in us right now as we do it. We find our joy in Him. I had a dream when I was a kid, a teenager. I grew up in the 90s. I was very much a grunge kid. I grew my hair out. I wore flannel and Doc Martens I'm wearing Doc Martens today. I wore Doc Martens all the time and the chain wallet, and it was silly. But I loved Alice in Chains. I loved Pearl Jam. And for us 90s grunge kids, Seattle was like the place you wanted to be. In that coffee shop culture, we all fell in love with that. So I had a dream. I wanted to open a coffee shop. I was like, that would be the coolest thing. And my favorite movie of all time is Casablanca. And so I'm imagining, Rick's place and being that guy, being Humphrey Bogart and owning my own place and having people come in and enjoy my place. How cool is that? And so I had a desire to do that. And when I was 20 years old, the dream came true. At 20, I bought a coffee shop. I helped some friends open it, and they sold it to me at 20 years old. And I'll be honest with you, it was not nearly as glamorous as I thought it would be. I had a dream about becoming a pastor, if you can believe that. I was like, ministry. At high school, I pursued acting and comedy, and I linked up with a ministry that did comedy and acting. And so I traveled the country, lived out of a suitcase for over a year of my life at a high school, and just try to make people laugh and goof off and have fun and see this great country and meet amazing people and eat great food and just be silly. And somewhere along that process, the priority of acting and making people laugh became less of a priority, and ministering to people and showing them Jesus became a greater priority. And I remember calling my mom. I think it was in Mississippi. And I called her and I said, Mom, I think I want to be a pastor. And she's like, I know. It's like she knew the whole time. My granddad used to call me his little preacher growing up. He's like, this is my little preacher. I don't come from a family of preachers. That's not in my bloodline. And he had no reason to know that. I never talked about it. I never wanted to be a preacher when I was a kid. But he knew something that I didn't know yet. But I had a desire, I had a dream to become a pastor. And then it happened. I think I was 23, 22. And when I became full-time pastor at a church, and I'll be honest with you, not nearly as glamorous as I thought it would be. Still isn't. Less now than it ever was. I had the dream of moving back to this hometown of mine, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was born right there at the zoo. I was born right here. I love it here. I love Chattanooga. It's home. And I had a dream of moving back with my family, and then my whole family followed me, and they're all here, and it's amazing. I love it here. This is home. There's no place on this planet. I've been everywhere. This is home. And I had a dream of coming back here and starting a church for a bunch of ragamuffins who just want Jesus. Don't want religion, just want Jesus. It's been beautiful. It's been a wonderful story. But I'll be honest with you, not nearly as glamorous as I thought it would be. Over the last several years, I've kicked around the idea of starting another business, because the coffee shop, I've done other stuff. I've helped other people start things, and I've done things. And over the last year, I thought, it wouldn't be a bad idea to start another business on the side. That'd be kind of fun. I've always got ideas, so what if we give it a try? And then something dropped on my lap where my wife and I had this opportunity to run an event space. And running the event space would give our church a home, a place to meet. I was like, we could do this. And then as soon as we started, I was like, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why would we do this? And I kept looking at my wife, like blaming her for getting us into this. And she looked at me doing the same exact thing. not nearly as glamorous as I thought it would be. What I've learned living a little bit of life is that nothing ever is. It's never the answer. You can play it out and you think this path, this one, this 9th career change is the exception. You've changed your major 37 times and you are a freshman. This is it. It's never it. We're asking that to be what it cannot be. In the same way I talked about, I think last week, I can't look to my wife and ask her to be Jesus for me. Because that's not her role. Our job is not our source. Our job is not our purpose and meaning in this life. It's icing on the cake. It's a gift. It's something to enjoy. People say, do what you love and you never work a day in your life. That's a lie. That is a lie. A better way to look at it is this. Do how you love. And everything that you do will be impactful. And what do I mean by do how you love? What you do, put you into it. The way you love. Your gift is the way you love. Your passion, your fervency, your personality. That's how God created you to love others. Do what you do in the way that you love, and then everything you do is impactful. It's meaningful. This is where these verses are so helpful to me. Find joy in what you're doing. Just find joy there. Find joy in what you're doing right now. Don't worry about what you're going to be doing in the future. Don't worry about what you've done in the past. Just right now. That's all you got. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. Yesterday is done and gone. Enjoy what you're doing today. Just find joy in what you're doing right now, because that's where God has you right now. God's got you there right now for a reason. Find joy there. This may not be your favorite thing I say today, but it doesn't make it less true. There is no job in the future that is going to be more important or impactful than where God has you right now. There is no job that is on the horizon for you, no role, no business, nothing. There's nothing that is going to be more impactful or meaningful than where God has you right now. Because God's got you right here, right now, for a meaningful, impactful reason. He's not holding out. God's not withholding purpose from you, withholding meaning or impact from you. He's not waiting you out till you get to that place where then you're important. No. The great reformist Martin Luther is credited with this quote. There is some conjecture whether or not it's completely true. Whether or not he said it, it's still very true. But it's been told that he was asked by someone who had radically come to know the grace of God and came to know Christ. And they went to Martin Luther and said, I have found Jesus. He has set me free. What do I do now? Now what? And Martin Luther turned to him and said, what do you do for a living? And the guy said, I'm a cobbler. I make shoes. And so Martin Luther said to the man, then go make a quality shoe and sell it for a fair price. And then send him on his way. What? Dude, that's a letdown. I mean, let's be honest. I thought you were going to call me into ministry. I thought we were going to be doing something spectacular and fireworky. Go keep working and do it well. Be fair to people. I think that God uses our work. He uses it for us. God uses our work to sustain us financially. God uses our work so that we are giving of ourselves to that work. He's created us with gifts, with abilities, with a brain, with problem-solving abilities. He's given us all these tools to go do something. He uses our work, but more importantly, He uses us in our work. See, you think your work is just about paying the bills, but do you honestly think the God of the universe is more consumed with whether or not you can afford Paramount Plus and Netflix? Whether you can eat out 4 days a week or 3? Or do you think He's more concerned with something far more eternal, like the hearts and the spirits, the people that you interact with on a daily basis? What if your job has a lot more to do with the people than it does your job? What if that's the joy? Because what's the joy of the Lord? Does God take joy in creation? Yes. He made it. He loves it. But the greatest thing that He ever made was us. He takes more joy in us. In fact, all this was made for us to enjoy. We have all these beautiful gifts to enjoy because that's how much He loves us. So what's got His heart in your work? You and the people that you interact with. People are always going to be more important than stuff. Forever, that is always going to be the priority of God. People over stuff, over things, all the time. So whether we're doing something that we've always wanted to do, whether we're working our way to that place where we can do what we've always wanted to do, or if we're still trying to figure out what it is that we've always wanted to do, whether we feel like we're killing it right now, or maybe if we feel like we're failing miserably, that it's hard for us to get out of bed and get going because this is tough. Either way, God is always faithful to do what only He can do. And that is to do something miraculous through very normal, everyday people on a daily basis. God will shine His goodness, His grace, His amazing love through these cracked vessels like nobody's business. Because that's what He does. That's what He loves to do. Every single day, He's our source. He's the salt and the light that we need to do what we're called to do. And He will always show people who He is through us. Always. So my encouragement is this. I'm not telling you to fall out of love with your job. I'm not telling you to quit your job. I'm not telling you to change your job. Those things are decisions you make in your own heart. What I am saying is this. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you are into right now, whether you're working or not, whatever it is that you sink yourself into, enjoy it. Find joy in that. Don't look over the neighbor's fence to see if their grass is greener. It probably is in some places, and then other places not. It's all work. The grass is not greener because you're doing something different. The joy is meant to come from inside. The joy is meant to, we're meant to carry it so that no matter what we're doing, there's joy there. No matter where we go, whether we clock in at the work, at the job, or we go to volunteer at the Special Olympics bowling. The joy is there because we brought it with us. The joy is not coming from what we do. Our joy is being brought to what we do because He's our source. So my encouragement is this: may the joy of the Lord be your strength in everything that you do. Let that joy overflow in what you're doing so that other people can taste and see that He is good. I want to pray, if you would, just bow your heads. We're going to take a moment and pray.